The movie commences with Roy Miller strolling through Wichita Airport, where he observes a delay for a Boston-bound flight. In the midst of this, June Havens, a woman burdened with a substantial carry-on, arrives at the check-in counter and inquires about the possibility of boarding an earlier flight. Coincidentally, Roy, who has been covertly monitoring June, unintentionally collides with her a few times while passing through security. June, an adept mechanic specializing in restoring vintage cars, exhibits to the security agent the unique components nestled within her bag. These components are intended for her sister's wedding gift, a 1966 Pontiac GTO that she is diligently refurbishing. Despite June holding a confirmed reservation, she is informed at the departure gate that the flight is overbooked. To her surprise, Roy manages to secure a spot on the flight and cryptically reassures her that sometimes events transpire for a purpose. Unbeknownst to June, a CIA special agent named Fitzgerald is discreetly observing Roy and engaged in a conversation with his superior regarding a mysterious entity known as the Zephyr. Fitzgerald, monitoring Roy's interactions with June via airport security cameras, becomes intrigued by her. Although his partner suggests deploying field agents to retrieve June in Wichita, Fitzgerald harbors a distinct plan. Shortly thereafter, the gate attendant delivers the news to June that a seat has become available for her, allowing her to board the flight. Roy is displeased because he recognizes Fitzgerald's hand in this abrupt alteration of plans. While on board, June observes the sparseness of fellow passengers and decides to unwind with a drink. She shares her aspiration of driving the fully restored GTO to Cape Horn with Roy. Meanwhile, Roy remains vigilant, closely observing the other passengers. He soberly comments that someday often turns into never. June is charmed by Roy, leading to an unexpected assault during her absence in the restroom. The passengers and crew turn against Roy in a chaotic frenzy. One pilot demands information about the Zephyr joining the assault. Meanwhile, Roy questions Fitzgerald's motives for orchestrating June's presence on the plane. Upon her return, June finds Roy holding 2 drinks and kisses him. However, her joy turns to horror as she realizes that everyone on the plane is dead, with turbulence causing lifeless bodies to tumble. Roy skillfully manages to bring the plane to an emergency landing on a highway, though it ultimately skids into a cornfield. He offers June a drink, but she realizes she has been drugged. He urgently advises her that dangerous individuals will come searching for her. To evade them, she must pretend not to recognize Roy and must be cautious if she overhears repetitive use of words like safe, stabilize, and secure, as they could be indications of malicious intentions or an attempt to imprison her where no one can locate her. Tragically, the plane explodes, and June loses consciousness. Upon awakening in her home, she discovers a considerate setup with water, aspirin, a fresh shirt, and breakfast awaiting her. Sticky notes from Roy act as reminders for June to avoid acknowledging him. Preparing for her sister's imminent wedding, she remains oblivious to surveillance. The day proves demanding as she endures bridesmaid dress fittings. Amid these tasks, they discuss the future of their father's GTO, leading to June's surprise when April reveals plans to sell it. A deceptive encounter at a store involving a parking ticket diversion sets the stage for an ambush by Fitzgerald and his team, who subsequently coerce June into one of their vehicles. June vehemently denies any recognition of Roy to Fitzgerald, but he confronts her with airport security footage depicting their interactions and her presence on the same flight. When Fitzgerald mentions the unfamiliar name Simon Feck, echoing Roy's warning, June's confusion intensifies. Fitzgerald intends to move her to a secure location to facilitate Roy's containment in a safe place. Suddenly, Roy arrives, sparking a thrilling sequence of gunfights and acrobatics, followed by a high-speed car chase. He rescues June from her state of bewilderment, yet finds himself caught in a perilous gunfight. Seizing the moment, June escapes, boards a bus, and heads to the local fire station, where she shares her incredible story with her ex-boyfriend Rodney, who dismisses it as pre-wedding jitters and treats her to a comforting slice of pie. Amid their conversation, Roy re-enters the scene and abducts June. He restrains her with handcuffs and inflicts a non-lethal gunshot wound on Rodney's thigh, explaining that it will paint Rodney as a hero and enhance his chances of a promotion. Roy discloses that security cameras in the pie shop recorded footage, making it appear as though June is his hostage, a move intended to absolve her of any wrongdoing in the eyes of the local police. Despite June's vehement protests, expressing that she feels safer with the agents than she does with Roy at present, he eventually brings her to a garage, uncuffs her on the rooftop, and instructs her to go her own way. He shares that her life expectancy is significantly shorter without his protection. Nonetheless, Roy prioritizes the safety of someone who places greater trust in him, leading to June's change of heart. She agrees to accompany him on their mission to retrieve Simon Feck, the brilliant inventor of the groundbreaking Zephyr perpetual energy battery. Roy reveals Fitzgerald's sinister plot. He had been guarding Feck and uncovered Fitzgerald's intentions to eliminate Feck, steal the Zephyr, and frame Roy as a rogue agent. They journey to Roy's New York City safe house, only to discover Feck's disappearance. Feck had left a hidden message in mathematical equations, revealing his location on an Alps-bound train in Austria. Their pursuit is hindered when Antonio Quintana, a Spanish arms dealer, deploys henchmen to intercept them. To ensure June's safety, Roy resorts to drugging her, and she drifts in and out of consciousness during their capture and escape from Antonio's operatives. Eventually, Roy transports her to an undisclosed Azores island, referred to as his home. Growing increasingly frustrated with her circumstances, June decides to explore the island independently. While doing so, she stumbles upon a message on Roy's phone, which includes a movement alert and a satellite zooming in on a Boston address where a man is tending to a '67 Grand Prix. As June studies the information on Roy's phone, a call from her sister unwittingly exposes Antonio's group to their hideaway location. Upon her return to Roy, a playful smile quickly transforms into an attempt to strike him. Roy adeptly dodges her blows and proceeds to demonstrate a self-defense technique. Their sand wrestling leads to shared laughter. However, an abrupt intrusion occurs as a remote drone dispatched by Antonio threatens their safety. In their escape, they reach Roy's helicopter, but June's aversion to flying and reluctance to be drugged again prompt Roy to gently employ a Vulcan neck pinch, rendering her unconscious. Subsequently, he transports her to a train journeying through the breathtaking Alps. June awakens alone, discovers Roy's message, and encounters a man named Bernhard in the dining car. She mistakenly believes he's Simon Feck. However, she finally realizes Feck is with Roy, not Bernhard. An altercation unfolds when Bernhard attempts to harm her. With Roy's arrival, they engage in a brawl. June eventually breaks free and unintentionally impales Bernhard, who is ejected from the train's window. Upon reaching the next station, Fitzgerald leads an investigation, but Roy, June, and Feck have mysteriously vanished. At the train car they occupied, Fitzgerald's breath leaves a circular mark on the window. Peering through it, he glimpses Roy standing outside, staring at him before vanishing into the bustling crowd. Roy arranges accommodations for June and Feck at a Salzburg hotel, then departs for a meeting with a mysterious woman named Naomi. Intrigued, June tails him and overhears his negotiation to sell the Zephyr to Antonio. The CIA intercepts June, introducing her to Isabel George, the director of counterintelligence. George presents June with slowed-down Wichita Airport footage, suggesting that Roy used her as a mule to smuggle the Zephyr into her father's car parts. She gives June a discreet pen for signaling when she's with Roy and the Zephyr. Upon Roy's return, overheating Zephyr unveiled, June subtly alerts the agents with the pen. Roy escapes, bidding her farewell, and flees to the rooftops. Pursued, Roy is shot and falls into a river. Fitzgerald discovers the Zephyr missing. Director George reassures June that they will recover Roy's body, as he had the Zephyr. June is safely returned home in time for her sister's wedding. In a separate location, Fitzgerald and his partner travel through Germany with Feck, their direction misjudged. In a ruthless act, Fitzgerald eliminates his partner and contacts Antonio to schedule a meeting in Spain within 2 days, all while holding Feck. Following the wedding, June is disheartened by April's decision to sell the GTO. While in her garage, a familiar song reminds her of Roy's ringtone, prompting her to recall an address she saw on his phone, an hour away, possibly a safe house Roy would use. En route to the address, June detects pursuit and skillfully evades her trackers, employing Roy's tricks. Arriving at the house, she encounters Molly and Frank, surprisingly Roy's parents. To her shock, Roy's real name is Matthew Knight. They reveal their son, a former Army sergeant and Eagle Scout, is believed to have perished in a helicopter crash in Kuwait. Their unexplained wealth results from lottery and sweepstakes winnings they can't recall entering. Subsequently, June departs from the Knights and discreetly contacts her voicemail, fully aware that her phone is under surveillance. She informs the eavesdroppers that she possesses the Zephyr and wishes to negotiate a deal. Nonetheless, her freedom is short-lived as Antonio's henchmen capture her and transport her back to Seville, Spain. Here, she becomes subjected to truth serum, leaving her vulnerable to interrogation. Antonio discerns that she possesses a counterfeit Zephyr, prompting June to clarify that Roy orchestrated her pursuit to lead the agents away, allowing her to return in time for the wedding. She honestly admits that she is unaware of the actual Zephyr's whereabouts. Frustrated, Antonio orders her execution. In a twist of events, Fitzgerald, who has taken Feck into his custody, arrives at Antonio's compound to negotiate a deal. Roy, tracking Feck using his phone, also makes an appearance. Together, they stage a daring rescue operation for June, setting off a chase involving motorcycles and evasive maneuvers amidst the festivities of the running of the bulls. In a bull-strewn chase, Antonio's shot at Roy goes awry, overturning his vehicle. A final confrontation occurs at a dock, with Roy offering the Zephyr in exchange for Feck's life. Shockingly, Fitzgerald disregards the plea and shoots Feck, witnessed by June. Fitzgerald escapes in an aircraft with the overheating Zephyr, which ultimately detonates, leading to his demise. June realizes that Roy took the bullet meant for Feck, prompting her to send Feck for help. Meanwhile, Roy wakes up in a DC hospital receiving an apology from Director George. She admits to being deceived by Fitzgerald, the true rogue agent. Roy expresses concern for June, but she has returned home and moved on. The director plans to transfer him to a secure facility, echoing his earlier words to June. As they prepare to leave, a nurse enters the room with medication for Roy, who suddenly comprehends that he's being drugged. To his surprise, he realizes that the nurse is none other than June. She discreetly aids Roy's escape from the hospital, and they make their getaway in the fully restored 66 GTO. Roy regains consciousness as a passenger in the car, situated on a Mexican beach, with June returning from a beachside shop. Inquiring about the day, she shares a kiss with him and exclaims that it's someday. She discloses their intended destination, Cape Horn, and a smile graces Roy's face. Together, they drive away, embarking on a journey along a picturesque coastal road. Out of the blue, the Knights find themselves in possession of 2 tickets to Cape Horn. Molly initially suspects a mix-up, but she staunchly believes they've won the tickets and persuades Frank to join her. The end.